Hi, this is Mahler Mike bringing you this week's Who Dat. This week, we're going out to Cypress, Texas to interview the owner of the Posse, Jeff Gray. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Jeff, why don't you start out by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
I'm 41 years old. I live in Cypress, Texas. I've got 4 lovely daughters, 2 of which play full-time softball. Traveling, I've got one that's a senior at Bridgeland High School, 17 years old. She'll be graduating in the spring. And I've got one that is a 7th grader at Salyards Middle School. Both of those girls play softball all the time. That's why I'm always busy on the weekends. And I got 2 more on it that are coming up behind them, so I'll be busy all the time with them as well. 5 and 6 years old.
I don't know how you do it. I had a hard time keeping up with one in sports. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your history in the AOFFL?
All right. I was brought into the league by Rick Jackson, the general, back in the 98. It was either 98 or after the 98 season. We were still on the old website. I think we had 1 year of the old website before we moved to CBS. And I bought a franchise that I thought was going to be pretty good with the defending champion Broncos. I had John Elway and Terrell Davis on my team. Terrell Owens is a young 49ers receiver. And as soon as I bought the team, John Elway retired and Terrell Davis blew out his knee. Ended up trading T.O. to the general. So I didn't end up getting any of those guys, and it was a long uphill fight from there. Didn't really get competitive until almost a decade later, but we've been pretty competitive since then. Enjoyed being the commissioner of the league for the last 7 or 8 years. I'm not sure exactly how long that was, but we saw us through the last realignment, and also ushered in a new era of diversity in the AOFFL, where we've got all different races were represented in the league, and we've even got now women in our league, and that was all under our regime, the general and I. 8 of the smoothest years in the history of the league.
All right. Well, through all these years, who do you look at as having been your biggest rival?
My biggest rival, that's a tough one, Mike. I don't really compete with too many on the same level to call them a rival, but I did enjoy dominating the Teddy Bear. He's no longer in our league, but the games against the Teddy Bear were always fun for me because it was a guaranteed W every week that we played, and it's tough to beat a good easy W.
All right. Well, through all the years, who would you say, give me just a second to cue something up here, who would you say is your favorite Posse player of all time?
Yeah, that's another one that I had to put a lot of thought into. We've had some greats over the years, starting with Dante Culpepper back in the day, and Randy Moss and Eddie George and the guys we had early on. We've had Jamal Lewis and Adrian Peterson, Reese Jones-Drew. Many great running backs and receivers have come through, but only one truly stands out, and that's Mr. Matt Flynn for the Green Bay Packers. Matt carried us to a Super Bowl title over the donkey. Many donkey tears have flowed over the years because of 6 touchdowns produced by Matt Flynn to allow us to win that championship by 1 touchdown.
Now, how did that happen? Because Matt Flynn wasn't even a starter.
No, we had Aaron Rodgers at the time, and we knew the Packers were going to be benching their players in AOFFL playoff time. So we picked up Matt Flynn as the backup because the offense for the Packers was humming. And it turned out they were playing the Lions in that championship, and the Donkey Boy was a big Lion fan. But they weren't good enough. They couldn't compete with Flynn.
All right. Next question. Beer, whiskey, or wine?
That's an easy one for me, Mike. I'm not supposed to choose a favorite. You know, all those are kind of like my children, but whiskey is definitely my favorite.
Well, Jeff, you'll be happy to know that whiskey is obviously the correct answer. Moving on a little bit. Tell me about your best or craziest draft weekend memory.
There's been so many, but not many of them are memorable because I can't remember much of anything these days. But I do remember, I don't remember the year. I remember a very high level of participation. We were at the Stealth Compound in Kingwood. And it's another good donkey memory. Steve had one too many like he always does early in the day, and he ended up falling asleep. And the next time we saw Steve, I think he had a penis on his face. He was lipsticked up, and he had all kinds of makeup on, toenail polish. I'm not sure where he slipped off to, but he came back all dolled up.
Now, who would have done that to the donkey?
Good question, Mike. I'm not sure we will ever know.
Maybe Andy Reid was there. I heard he likes to draw stuff on people's faces.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes told me that he suspects him of being the mustache bandit.
Well, this year's most likely most valuable posse player, who would that be?
That's a tough question. We just lost Cooper Kupp for the season, probably. So it's a heavy quarterback league. If we're going to win, it's going to be with Dak Prescott.
Well, I tend to agree with you. You seem to kind of have pulled out of a lull after Dak came back from his injury.
Yeah, he's starting to turn the offense around for the Cowboys. It's looking better.
Well, Jeff, at the draft, you and I and some of the other owners, we had a fantastic discussion about participation in the league. And obviously there's several aspects that are important in participating in the league. And the first and probably most fundamental one that we're not going to discuss much is the actually running of your football team, making sure you're turning in a weekly lineup, replacing injured players. That's the minimum expectation of participation. But, it all starts with the draft weekend. And you brought up some excellent points about draft weekend and what participation really means there. Tell us a little bit about what we talked about.
Yeah, man, I enjoy all the draft weekend festivities, and I have for over 20 years now. And the more people that participate, the more fun we have at each event. From the days back in Kingwood and, whatever Steve was doing at night, to all the way to the general compound and him hosting us on the booze cruise and the poker tournaments and the golf tournaments. And, man, it's always a good time when we get together. And if only 4 or 5 of us are doing it, it's still a good time. But when we can get closer to 10 or 12 of us doing it, it's always fun. Yeah, I think it's a big part of this league, and one of the reasons I've stuck around for so long.
I agree. I think that our draft weekend sets us apart from a lot of different leagues. Another part that I talk about a lot with Steve Wald and a lot with David Knowles about is the in-season participation through the website, through interacting with the other owners during the season. And if those of you out there aren't spending a few minutes reaching out and making a phone call or a text to the person that you're playing this week, please start doing so, because the interaction between teams throughout the season is really what makes it fun to play. Anybody can go on and play in an online league, but it's the actual interaction and the participation in the comments and so forth on the website that makes the in-season part fun. The last part, and since you were the previous commissioner and I'm the current commissioner, is the administration of the league. There's jobs associated with the league, whether it be being the commissioner, the assistant commissioner. Over the years, we've had the stat stud and the media director and all those fun things. Those are all part of the administration of the league. But one of the things that we discussed is that, when it comes down to team owners complaining at the end of the season, about things throughout the season, and we try to fix them once the season is over. What was your experience as commissioner when those situations would happen, Jeff?
Pretty much no one wants to participate after the season. Everyone has the ability or the the resources to get on a meeting like this or jump on a phone call, but we tend to only get people that will complain during the season, and when they're approached for the off season, it's crickets. So yeah, it's never been, most of the changes that have been done by the same handful of people that are always willing to help. And, it's probably half the league, I'd say.
Well, these are good conversations for us to have, and hopefully those of you out there are listening and can work to improve on some of the areas you might be weak at in your participation in the league, because everything we do is trying to increase that participation. On a brighter note, Jeff, first of all, it's been great talking to you. You and I don't you're a busy guy. We have a hard time finding time to talk to each other as much as I'd like to. Is there anything you'd like to tell the league before we sign off tonight?
Just that I enjoy being in the league. I enjoy the camaraderie, and I enjoy kicking everyone's ass in this league. I really do. Every time I get a chance to beat another owner in this league, it's a good day for me. So I appreciate the ball licker for being my latest victim, and I look forward to kicking the rest of y'all's ass the rest of the way.
All right. Well, thank you very much. This has been Jeff Gray, the owner of the Posse. I'm Mauler Mike. This is Who Dat. Join us next week for next week's Who Dat. Until then, peace out.